In this video, I'm going to tell you about one of the biggest mistakes public speakers, business leaders, and even comedians make, and it happens after the audience has stopped clapping. It's the mistake that locks you into a failure loop and guarantees a worse performance next time. I know this because I've made this mistake for years as a stand-up comedian. I would have a bad set, go home, and replay the bad set over and over and over again in my head. I didn't know how destructive this is because no one else was talking about this. And this bad habit is rehearsing your mistakes and rehearsing failure. It wasn't until I studied sports psychology and peak performance until I realized how big of a problem this is and how destructive it can be. I'm going to show you exactly how this cognitive trap works, back it up with the routines of some of the best performers in the world, and give you the exact steps to stop this destructive habit. At the end, I'll talk about the time where I bombed on television and how you can apply these lessons to move on from any kind of bad performance. But before we get to that, let me first explain why this is so important. Why is it so destructive if we mentally rehearse a bad performance? When you replay a mistake or a bad performance in your mind, your brain learns from it. Our mind and nervous system aren't good at differentiating between what we imagine and what really happened. So when we mentally rehearse a failure, we're telling our neural pathways, hey, this is the kind of performance we want to save, and this is the kind of a person we are. So the more we do it, the more our nervous system and mind actually believes, oh, this is the kind of performer we are, and this is the kind of standard we have. This creates a slump where also the fear of failure creates the mechanism for failure, because we believe, hey, I'm the kind of person who fails like this. And so you already fear the next performance because you think, oh man, I failed the last times, maybe this time is not gonna go well again. In public speaking especially, fear of failure already is not something you want. The philosopher Balthazar Gracian said, fear of failure in the mind of a performer is for an onlooker already evidence of failure. Your audience can sense the fear long before you even say a word. And that fear is often rooted in the last things you imprinted or rehearsed in your mind. The true mistake is bad mental imprinting. When you replay a mistake or a horrible performance in your mind, your brain literally learns from it. So what can we do about it? I often try to learn from the world of sports because these are high performers in their respective field, and we can apply their mindset and their learning into even something as public speaking or, like I did, in stand-up comedy. So here are 5 examples from high performers. Number 1, Giannis Antetokounmpo. After his team, the Milwaukee Bucks, had a disappointing end to their season in 2024, a reporter asked Giannis right after the game at the press conference, this means that the whole season was a failure. And he replied,
"It's not a failure, it's steps to success. Michael Jordan played 15 years, won 6 championships. The other 9 years was a failure. There's no failure in sports. You know, there's good days, bad days. Some days you are able to be successful, some days you're not. Some days it's your turn, some days it's not your turn. And that's what sports is about."
So the first thing to acknowledge is failure is normal. Don't get dragged down by it. It's not as big of a deal like we think. Like he says, even the best players don't win every single game. So failure is just part of the game, and it's about how we deal and learn from failure so that in the future we can set ourselves up for more success. When you believe this, you won't be as hard on yourself after a bad performance because you think, hey, this is part of the game, it's very normal, and I'll just learn from this and move on and get better. Number 2, Josh Waitzkin. He was a chess prodigy and wrote the book, The Art of Learning. I would have said he's the only non-athlete in this group, but he actually applied everything he learned from chess in the world of martial arts. So yes, he is an athlete as well. And what he learned and recommends is that you always end every single training on a high note. The last thing we do in a practice session or in a game or in a speech always stays longest in our memory and it has a bigger imprint on our self-image. So he recommends, even if it means cutting short your training session, stop after a good performance. Because then, until the next session, that's what his subconscious will feed off on, because ending on a low can hurt your self-image, while ending on a high will feed and boost your self-image and help you perform better the next time. Which brings us to number 3, Cristiano Ronaldo. Goalkeeper Edwin van der Sar said that when he was training at Manchester United with Cristiano Ronaldo always insisted that they keep practicing free kicks until Cristiano Ronaldo scored. So Cristiano Ronaldo wanted to train the entire time until he would score. He didn't want to stop until he made a goal. Whether he did it on purpose or not, Cristiano Ronaldo knew that it really does matter that you end a training session on a high, because that feeds his self-image. Of course, this means, and Edwin van der Sar admitted it himself, he said, well, I'm the one who now loses because he scored against me, so I end on a low. But yeah, that's how they trained it. So Cristiano Ronaldo knew about the importance of good imprinting and tried to not end any kind of performance with a bad imprint. Number 4, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Similar to Giannis Antetokounmpo in example number 1, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, had a disappointing ending to their 2024 NBA season. And in this case specifically, SGA himself caused the mistake that ended the season for his team, the Thunder. He played amazingly the entire season, and then unfortunately he made one mistake, and then that ended their season. And the reporters asked him at the press conference right after the final game whether he looked at the mistake. And this is what he said.
Basketball, you win some, you lose some, you make mistakes.
Have you seen the replay?
No, I can't look at it. But they looked at it and I assume I fouled them. They looked at it and still didn't overturn it.
When you say you can't look at it, what do you mean?
I don't want to look at it. I fouled them, clearly, because they reviewed it and I fouled them, so there's no need to look at it.
Because it was a big mistake, he could have replayed it over and over and over again and put himself down. But instead, he just moved on. He just said, look, it just already happened. I can't change anything about it. I'm gonna move on and trade for the upcoming season. And what happened? That very season, the next season, he basically won every single award possible. Number 5, Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappe. Argentina beat France in the 2022 FIFA World Cup and they became the world champion in football, in soccer for our American friends. Lionel Messi, star of Argentina, beat Kylian Mbappe, star of France. Outside of the World Cup, they were teammates at their club, Paris Saint-Germain. So an interviewer asked Lionel Messi whether it was awkward afterwards in the locker room and whether they ever talked about it. And Messi said they never talked about it, and he understands why they would not talk about it because he himself lost a World Cup final in 2014, so he understands he would also not want to talk about it. And it shows these amazing players, instead of letting a loss or a bad performance hurt them, and in this case Mbappe had an amazing performance, they don't allow bad imprinting to happen. They immediately protect their self-image and focus on the future. These are 5 examples from high performance. Now, what can we do exactly? Here are the exact steps. Before you reframe anything, sometimes it just helps to have a catharsis. Suppressing strong feelings does not help. You need to let it out, and speaking to someone or journaling just by yourself really helps. Write down how you feel, acknowledge that you're disappointed in the performance. You don't want to write down what exactly went badly and so on. Just acknowledge that you don't feel good and just get them out of your head and onto paper.
This helps you have an emotional release without rehearsing the failures, the mistakes. Next, you do want to learn from this. But how do I learn without imprinting the failure? A great technique comes from sports psychologist Jim Afremo. Instead of asking yourself, how did it go, which can invite negative self-talk, apply the good, better, best framework. What was good? What went well? This forces you to find the things you did well and find the successful imprints. List all the things you did well and even feast on this. Really try to tell yourself and show yourself, hey, I did actually do well. I crushed this and this and this, and really try to increase your self-image while listing all these things. Next, what could I have done better? Instead of dwelling on, oh, I didn't do this well and putting yourself down, reframe it as, hey, what can I do better next time? So yes, you acknowledge that you didn't do something perfectly, but you're not pushing yourself down, being hard on yourself. Instead, encouraging yourself, hey, this is something I noticed and I do have to improve it this way. Next, the very things you just acknowledged that you need to do better. How will I make and implement these changes to be my best in the future?
Once you've identified your best, you do a conscious mental replay of everything, of what you did well, and now replacing what you could do better with the best version. So now you only visualize great things, either that really happened, that you did well, or the things you're gonna do really well in the future. But to yourself, because you're mentally rehearsing, you're telling yourself, hey, this is exactly how I already performed. As we said earlier, the mind cannot differentiate between an imagined experience and a real experience. Therefore, by doing a mental replay, you have now imprinted a successful performance. So here's how I applied it when I bombed on television. I was invited to a stand-up comedy competition years ago in Romania.
Yes!
I think I had a great set, but it just did not click, and they kicked me out. They did not let me pass in the competition. And there are various reasons for that. I'm gonna do another video specifically about the whole thing, but basically I didn't get through. This was one time I really thought from the start, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna crush so hard. And really, I think I had a good performance. So afterwards, I just was so crushed. I remember I really had this level of certainty, like I'm gonna make it. And then it was like, oh, what? And I was really crushed. And I remember right after, I was just sitting outside the studio lot and there was a break for everyone. I was just before the lunch break. I think the audience members didn't have food for hours, so everyone was also hungry. And I'll talk about that in another video, but I was just sitting there outside. I was really crushed. I was really disappointed. And I pulled out my notebook and I just started journaling. So exactly what I did. I really felt crushed. And so instead of immediately moving on, I thought, okay, it's good to actually express it because otherwise it's just gonna remain there. So I just wrote down how I felt without going into what I did back, not just acknowledging that I felt crushed and disappointed. And while I felt so confident that I would do a great set, it did not happen. It felt like I was talking to myself and calm myself down. And then I applied the framework. What did I do well? And I listed exactly what I did well. What did not go so well? Because even though I felt like I crushed it, there were things I did not do so well. So a quick example would be, in the beginning, I spoke to everyone in Romanian. I didn't even go right into my set. I thought, hey, it will be a good start if I speak to them first in Romanian, broken Romanian, and break the tension that way, because I was the first English-speaking. Again, I'm gonna talk about that in another video. But obviously in stand-up, you should go right into your set as soon as possible and make people laugh. And at that moment, I just thought, maybe it would be good to connect with people because it's so weird. For hours I've seen people speak in Romanian, now they're gonna speak someone in English. I should first break the tension by connecting in Romanian that I just learned backstage. Anyways, that was a bad idea. So stuff like that, I would just write that down. Another mistake I made was I was taken aback by this loud noise the studio made. And I'd seen it already from backstage, but still when I was on stage, I just wasn't prepared for it because I kept visualizing a positive outcome where I'm only gonna get yes, I'm only gonna get the green light. And so when I saw that red light, it fazed me. And so I did not really come back from that. So next, I wrote down what would I do instead of speaking Romanian. I would immediately go into my set and I would have prepared much more for the eventuality of having some no's as well. And when I have this no, I was really fazed by this loud noise, and what my mistake was, I just started my bit again. Instead, I would move on immediately, not finish that joke, even if it means, I've just lost that punchline, just move on, because it doesn't work if you backtrack and say the joke again when you're interrupted in the middle of the joke. It just doesn't work usually. So immediately just move on. And that already would have helped a lot. And I wrote everything down, and then in my mind's eye, I did the performance again. But this time doing everything well that I did already, and also what I wish I had done and I would do in the future. After doing all this, I did not dwell on it anymore. And yes, it still hurt, but I could move on with a good conscience and knowing that I learned a lot and that I will be better in the long term. So whenever you have a bad public speaking experience or a bad performance, do not dwell on it. Protect your self-image and apply the good, better, best framework. Stop rehearsing failure and start imprinting success. If you want to learn more about how you can apply peak performance mindset from the top performers across fields in public speaking, check out this channel.